The Sciforror Film Podcast.
Hello, welcome to the Sciforror Film Podcast. I'm Andy Walker, as always. Scott is here, as always, and we have with us Peter Hatch from the marvelous Deformed Lunch Box studios. Hi, how you doing?
Great, thanks for having me.
It's wonderful. We've been looking forward to this because
I will say, since the first one we watched watched one of your films, I've been saying I just want to talk to you guys.
Okay, yeah, I listened to your podcast after you reached out to me, so I've been listening.
Oh, cool, thank you.
It's great. I love it. I mean, focused on short films. It's great.
Yeah, I mean, this season we've decided to sort of branch out a bit because we started off just doing the features, then we went to just doing shorts, and this year we're going to do sort of a mix of the two. So sort of a different thing. But we absolutely love your stuff. I mean, there were about 3 or 4 studios that when we did the roundup of last year, we said that, you know, we did a roundup where we recommended films that we watched and that sort of thing. And yours was one of about 3 or 4 that we said anything you watch by them, we would recommend. Yeah. Because I don't think there's a single one of your films that we've seen that we haven't liked.
Wow, thank you. I'm so glad you like them.
I will say there's been a few that have confused me.
Okay, I can clear some things up.
Yeah, but none that I haven't liked. They've been amazing.
Okay. I love the humour and that, and the subtlety of some of it, the not so subtlety of others.
Yeah,
you're gonna like the next one that we're making. You're gonna like the next one. I'm excited for you guys to watch it.
Oh, brilliant. So, how did you get started with it all?
I mean, originally I wanted to make video games, but I did a little bit of programming, and it's way too hard. So way too much work, way too much sitting in front of a computer. So I realized that just setting a camera up and doing things in front of it was a lot easier. So kind of, I mean, started from there, and I just said, okay, I'm gonna make movies. And I actually work in commercial, like I live in Toronto, just for if you didn't know. And so I work in like commercials doing like image technician and post-production and things like that.
All right.
And it's kind of a team of people, local people who also kind of have different roles in film. And we got together and we're like, let's make some cool horror ideas in short film. So I have a friend, Matt, he's a DP, and we have another friend, Brandon, who he writes, and we have a little team, and it's fun.
It's I mean, I can't remember what was the first one we watched. Was it
Make Me a Sandwich, maybe?
Yeah, Make Me a Sandwich. I think Make Me a Sandwich was the first one.
I think Make Me a Sandwich was the first one we watched, and we kind of just both sat there and went, "What is this?"
Yeah, there's not many times where like I've watched, if you listen to it, we've both talked about the weird films we've watched. I'm just saying, there's a lot of films that I've watched over my years of watching them that have never left me sort of speechless. Almost every single one of your films have. I just sit at the end of it, and I'm just I don't like when we do my notebooks we make it like normally A4 pages, and we sit and write notes for every single one of your films. I think I've got about 2 or 3 notes because they draw me in so much, or they confuse the life out of me.
Yeah, I think there's something about not knowing how to feel that's we're trying to capture. Like we want people to be, not sure whether it's funny or dark or if they should feel guilty for laughing. Like we want to give everyone that weird vibe. I don't know what it's called. No name for it. But
I know. Yes, it's. I mean that one, Make Me a Sandwich, was just like as it went on, it was kind of like, what is she going to put in there next?
Yeah.
And then, she's insane. So
The big
Yeah.
question that we have, or that we've mentioned a few times, is
Yes.
where do the ideas come from? Because there's some weird stuff going on there.
well, it's funny. I have a buddy, and we write together. And when we first started off, we just looked around the room, and I'm just like, oh, okay, a toaster, a scarf, a lamp. What else?
Yeah.
There's another a pencil sharpener. So that's kind of how that whole year of movies came to be. It was.
I don't think we've reviewed the pencil sharpener.
No, I don't think we have.
No,
We've reviewed. We've definitely done. I've definitely done toast. I remember that one.
Toast. Yeah. That
Yes.
was, yes, that was
the toaster. Yeah. So I mean, the toast. Like the idea was so simple. It was like, hey, what if a guy puts his hand in a toaster and starts doing something, and then, we over a few weeks, you just think, well, what else can we tweak with that? How else can we add to that? What maybe we can make it a little longer here, and then I know you guys were wondering why he puts the glue on.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's certain things that we sat like saying. I sat and watched almost every one of them. I was like Dad said, like with the Make Me a Sandwich one, it's getting to the point where like, where's the next bit gonna go? Because obviously it gets to like that weird stage, and it carries on. And I sit there like, how much weirder is this gonna get?
What's funny in Make Me a Sandwich? That's the skeleton is there the whole time.
Oh, right.
Yeah, and so she's actually never even was there with the actor. She's always acting with the skeleton. So if you look at it, some people have noticed it's the back of the skeleton's head the whole time.
Oh, right.
Yeah, we hide. We have a lunchbox actually. It's upstairs, but it's a little tin lunchbox, and it's actually hidden in every single short film.
Oh, see, now I'm gonna have to go back and watch.
We're gonna have to go back and watch.
Yeah. Sometimes it's more obvious, and other times, sometimes it's like really hidden. But
so
it's there.
What was it about the glue then and toaster?
Well, I just figured if your hand, if his hand's in pain, right, he wants to hold it together to mimic a piece of bread, because once he breaks, it won't form into a piece of bread.
Yeah,
he has to have the full hand in one slice-like piece. Like he can't be moving and rattling and doing this and tweaking this way. He has to really keep it firm. That was the thinking.
The worrying thing is that makes perfect sense.
Yeah. So see, this is one thing I've got to ask though. Like as you've probably heard as you've gone through, we've asked the question of where the ideas come from. Now, there's one thing that's been sort of bugging me. What are the ideas that you all turned down then?
That we turned down?
Is there any ideas that come up and you all sit there and go, no, that's a bit too much? Because obviously, like we said, we toast and make us a sandwich and stuff like that. They all seem very, well, for anyone else, any bizarre ideas. So there's got to be ideas you've looked at and gone, no, we can't do that.
Well, truthfully, we have over 100 of these short films written, like screenplays, and it's just about which one is the flavor right there. You know what I mean? Like, hey, we're in this location, and this one seems like a good one to do for that, to try and see if it'll get more views or less views, or try something more comedy or more horror or more gore, like just experiment in a certain way. So it's usually just picking out of that pile. And I guess in my mind, even the weakest ones in the pile, you can probably take and be like, oh, okay, well, how can we just make this weird or tweak this or change the reversal roles? And there's something there's a nugget. There's always a nugget,
I must admit, the only one that we've both had a kind of I don't know, we didn't feel was as good, if you like, was the COVID test.
Okay, yeah.
And I think the whole reason for that.
I was in that. Did you notice?
I didn't realize it was you at the time. But,
yeah.
The reason for me was it just felt a bit kind of rushed.
Yeah, it was very rushed.
So I just kind of felt that it didn't quite have the kind of time to develop as maybe your other ones have.
Yeah, so that one, well, actually, we did the same the day before, or sorry, the day after we did Shirts versus Skins. So we tried to pack 2 in one weekend, and that one, like a new director kind of did it, and I had to step in for an actor and be the COVID test guy. So there's a lot of pieces kind of didn't. It's not my favorite either. Yeah.
It's not that we didn't like it. I mean, we
No.
liked it, but it was just it didn't quite feel as good as the other ones.
Yeah, we sat there and we watched it, and it was almost, we sat there at like one point, it's like we felt really bad to actually sit there and say it wasn't as good, and it's like we both sat there and said like it's we felt really bad about it because it's stuff that you've done before, but we sat there and it's like it felt almost like there was just something missing. It wasn't bad, but we sat there and like it could have been a little bit longer or stretched out a bit, and we thought it would
I'm gonna go and delete it after this podcast.
No.
Fire all the
What I did love was the fact that you had to put a thing on there saying that this is purely for entertainment and it doesn't. It's not exactly the same as a normal COVID test. It's like,
I know.
People are going to watch that and think that's the way they go.
Yeah, it's just.
I know it almost. I didn't originally. It was going to be, there was more to the script where they get into it a little bit more about not being vaccinated and this and that. And when we filmed it, it just didn't really work. And so I do the editing and I cut all that out. I'm like, no, let's keep that kind of controversial stuff out. And that, I don't know, it was maybe a little bit too spicy of a movie for.
Yeah, you got to be careful. You don't want to alienate some of your audience.
Yeah, so that's why we kept it very kind of whatever, right? Anyone can relate to it. But I guess in our minds when we were making, we're like, oh, like this would be so popular because it's like it's of the moment, you know. But ultimately, I think it's not the good thinking because in 2 years or 3 years, like what good is something that's related to or hopefully in 2 years when this is all over, then it's too timely. Where something like, I think something like Make Me a Sandwich or Toast, we'll be watching that forever. You know, we'll have toasters. Even in 100 years, people, when they're like, you know, making toast from, you know, a laser printer, they'll know what a toaster is. You know? So,
I mean, what's have you got in the, you know, what have you got in the pipeline? Have you got other stuff?
Okay. Well, actually, this weekend coming up, we're working on a short film another director's working on called Find Me. It's about it's pretty creepy, more horror. But that's like a festival thing. We won't have that released for a while, but we're making one in February called Ice Tray. And that's the one I think you guys will really like.
Okay.
Made for, you know what, I think when I listened to your podcast and how you liked toast and what you guys thought about the Discharged, the ear one. Okay. I was like, well, let's go full tilt on this one because I know if people are out there liking this kind of bizarre stuff, then let's give them feed that audience some meat.
Discharge was brilliant. It was so. It was kind of like it had a kind of depth to it that was
a little hidden military PTSD thing going on, right?
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of, it was a little unexpected, really, but it was really good. It was really, I really liked that.
I think good horror movies have a little bit of something, you know.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. I will say that the interesting thing about Toast is the fact that I think we mentioned it at the time, was the fact that I was in a short film called The Hand That Feeds You, in which I had to eat my own hand.
Ooh.
And then we watched Toast, and it was kind of like, wow, this is weird.
Yeah. It's the thing is that I liked as well is the fact that, and it goes to show, like you were saying with the films, about the fact that your ones seem to be almost there for everyone. Like, even if they don't like horror stuff, because obviously, as we've talked about before, my partner Amy is not a massive fan of horror films. She's growing gradually to like them, and I think that's mainly because of the fact that I make her watch them. But she's watched a couple of ones of yours that she's done, and she's actually said to me how much they've actually made her like horror films even more now.
Oh,
and I don't know if that's me reading too much into the fact that I need to be worried about it, because obviously this is a very bizarre concept, or the fact it just shows how good your filming is.
Oh yeah. I mean, the thing about it is, I mean, as you said before, I mean, the quality of the films is brilliant. You know, the quality, the cinematography, the writing, the acting, everything is just really good, and it's so easy sometimes in a short film, especially if it's a comedy horror, to lose that kind of quality.
Yeah.
And
For sure.
I'm always really struck by the fact that your films are really good quality films.
I mean, it's tough. I mean, for one, all of us working on it, our livelihood is working in film. So I have everything for color and post production, and my friend Matt, he has the camera and the some lighting, but it's still a lot of money to make these movies because I got to go buy toasters and a bunch of bread, and we give money to the actors and sound. Yeah. Obviously, if we ever have dialogue, we have to bring in a professional sound recordist. So it adds up. Like so it is tough, but I think it's because we all work in film and we have a passion to make it that next level cinematographically, and with horror is getting high quality. Like this, there's a lot of really good high quality horror, and the good thing about it is you can make a really great horror movie and you don't have to have like a big name actor in it.
Yeah.
So you're seeing really cool style and cool lighting and cool kills and everything.
One of the things I think sometimes lets down sort of independent short films, especially because of the budget restrictions, is the effects. But your effects always look really good. Have you got a team, or do you do those yourself?
I do them myself. That's why they're so cheap. Like if I had a team, so little things like even like I avoid using CGI. Because I feel like unless you have $1 million, it never looks right, and people can always see if it looks bad. Yeah. So you'll notice there's zero CGI. The most we'll do is like paint things out, like little things you wouldn't notice. But for the actual like effects, like the Q-tip in the ear, that was just done with a piece of like red paper, big paper rolled up, and then we melted yellow wax in the middle of it. And then I just took like a bunch of these kind of paper towels and made a big thing on my duster, and I kind of stuffed it in one end, and we had the camera in the other end, and was tracking back with it at the same time. It just worked. Like and for the hand in the toaster, that was just a separate toaster. We broke off the end and put the hand in, and then put red lighting. It's simple. So a lot of these things are just cheating it. And finding and thinking about like, okay, what's a cool shot we can get on this one that really is different or really is challenging, and then
a lot of it can be made to look a lot better in the editing as well. The way you cut the shots together and that sort of thing. But you do it really well. It doesn't look cheap. It doesn't look like it's not being done professionally, if you like. They look like professional effects, which is really good.
Well, thanks. I'm glad that I take it as a huge honor that you say that.
No, it really is. I really like your stuff and everything about it, really. I've noticed there's been a tendency with some of the studios that we've looked at films from. They've been doing short films and then they've gone on and made some of them into features, or they've made features either that are connected to some of their short films or just something completely different. Have you any thoughts about doing that, about making a feature rather than shorts?
Yeah, so we have features in development, a couple, and even one is like a spiritual feature film to make me a sandwich.
All right.
And I don't know if I mentioned, we have a series, episodic series of shorts, like an anthology style series that's in development as well. It's like been optioned, and we're just kind of waiting. So we have bigger things in the wind. It takes time to develop those things. But yeah, I have one feature I think you guys would really like. I wrote it. It's extra deformed lunchbox, like and I'm gunning for it to be made. It's called Scissors. So
all right.
You'll know. It might not have that title if the naming rights aren't legal or something, but you'll know.
Oh, cool.
One thing I've got to ask, and we've talked about this a couple of times. Me and Dad have talked about, is the fact that there's so many people out there that have the problem with the mixed genres, like doing like action and sci-fi, like horror and sci-fi stuff like that. Do you have any backlash or anyone complain about when you do the horror comedies?
Well, yeah, it's a good topic, because horror comedy, in my mind, like you can talk about like that mix for a whole podcast probably, because I think sometimes I'll watch a horror movie and I'll be like, oh, the comedy just ruined that.
Yeah.
And very, very rarely does it really strike the perfect balance where I'm still scared. If it's something like Dale and Tucker and Dale, is that what it's called? It's full on comedy, or it's Shaun of the Dead. It's like, okay, it's a comedy, I'm there. But if it's something like Get Out, I felt like, and Us, both of Peele's movies, like they just had a little too much comedy for me to still stay scared.
Yeah.
So I find the mix, I find it works sometimes with our stuff because our comedy is like so surreal, bizarro that you're almost like, am I on meth watching this? Like that. But yeah, sometimes we have, I think we're always keeping track of, because some of our movies, I even picture like a little odometer, right? And on one side is horror, like full horror, like Martyr kind of level horror, and the other side is like comedy horror. Right? I'm doing a bad thing here, but and then so it's always that middle area, right? We're trying to get, and I think when we're a little too comedy, our audience is less interested, and when we hit a little more horror, like the toast and the just disturbing stuff and making a sandwich, like our audience reacts more. So that's what we're going to try to do going forward, is more be scary and horror, but like the tickling of comedy, bizarro comedy, but not like ha ha ha, this is a joke, gotcha, like none of that stuff.
Right.
So, what do you guys think? What do you think about horror comedy? Like, are you guys?
I love horror comedy. I see. I like just about all of it because of the fact that my big problem sometimes is taking horror films seriously, because after you've seen a lot of them, and they have the same kind of tropes and the same kind of scenes and that kind of thing, setups and all this kind of stuff, and after a while it's difficult to take them seriously. So if they don't take themselves seriously, then it's kind of easier to kind of go with it and to be part of the whole thing, part of the experience. But I don't necessarily like them if it's too. I'm not a big fan of things like what's it, the Scary Movie thing, that sort of thing, where it was basically just a comedy built around a parody of horror films.
Yeah,
I'm really not into that at all.
Now, I'm sort of the same. I've grown up watching, because of that mainly. I've grown up watching horror films my whole life, so I've become a bit sort of dull to ones that are proper, like meant to be really scary. But the ones that have got that little bit of a comedy factor in it, that but not like proper jokes the whole way through, I love, because of the fact that I sit there and there's times, like even with a couple of yours, I've sat there and I've watched and I've like, hang on, I've got to play that back, because surely I've misheard what they've said, because I've sat there laughing at things, and people look at me going, why are you laughing? And I've gone, because they said a joke. But so I've had to go back and go, did I hear it? And that's what I like. Films like that, when people don't sort of, they don't realise that there's jokes in it, but certain people do. Ones like that, the ones that sort of you sit there and, like you said, you've got that bizarre sense of humour where you can sit there and laugh at it, and it sort of almost creeps other people out when you laugh at them. Them sort of films I love watching, and I think a lot of yours do that, which freaks out my partner definitely.
I think the other thing about it is like we do it all the time. It's like sort of this bizarre thing, which is the fact that the people in horror films live in this strange world where they never watch horror films.
Yeah.
Because otherwise you would turn a light on when you go into the room.
Yeah.
You know.
That's one of the things that I've watched, especially with like, I think that's one of the reasons why I love your stuff, is because it is a lot of realistic aspects to it. Now, with like Dad said, when there's horror films where you hear a creepy noise or you hear something, or loads of your friends have been killed, so you're going to walk into a dark room, and it's like, no, you wouldn't.
Yeah.
But with your films, still, obviously, it's that sort of that life aspect to it, of the whole sort of like you make a sandwich, you start getting a bit annoyed like as you get older and stuff like that. And it's just certain bits where it's almost relatable.
Yeah,
like
definitely.
domestic horror almost.
Yeah.
It's not really creatures or aliens. It's like things around the house that can
Yeah.
Yeah.
The things around the house that are out to get you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, ultimately, do you see yourself making more feature films and all that sort of thing? Is that what you want to do? Is that where you want to take it?
For sure. Yeah. I have so much stuff. I write so much that I want to get it made.
Brilliant. Oh,
Yeah.
that's great. Right, I'm looking forward to.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to the new ones that you said about as well. I have to say, I've said within the first film that I watched, I was like, subscribe to the YouTube channel, everything that comes up, I've got to watch it.
Great. Oh,
It's
great.
it's got to the point where I'm having to go through and kind of, I've watched that one, I've watched that one, I've watched that one. I'm like, I sat there the other day, like,
I want to answer some of your confusions. You said you were. I know the glue, but were there any other things you were wondering?
Without going through my notes, I've got loads.
I must admit, in a kind of weird time travel sort of like sci-fi way thing now, we're actually recording this before we record the podcast that's going to be before this goes out, and on that podcast we're going to be reviewing Shirts versus Skins.
Oh, okay. When's that going out? I want to listen to that. When's that going out?
I'm not sure. That'll be episode 3. So what's that? About 3 weeks time. About 3.
Middle of February, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, something like that.
Although I'm sure we could definitely send you a message and say it's going out.
Yeah, it's based on football, right? Or we call it soccer, but
yeah.
sort of.
So go back to the conversation, the question we had earlier. So the ideas you put across, obviously your team or sort of are all okay with it. Is there any point where you have to get the actors in where they sit there and, I don't know, almost don't want to do it? Like they sit there and go, "Are you serious about us doing this film?"
You know what? Not really. So we always pay the actors. That's one thing. Like I don't rely on my brother's cousin's friend for that. Like if it's for crew and it's someone I know and they'll help, yeah, for sure. And they get to get their demo reel or portfolio built however direction they want with a solid little short. But actors, like I want to guarantee they'll get there. I want to know that they're gonna like get there on time. And also on these indie movies, we often will ask them like, hey, do you have any wardrobe? Like, I'm not going to go buy your pants and I don't have a wardrobe style. So do you have a series of beige pants you can, and they'll send pictures. So there's a little bit of stuff they do. And it's all just about sending this, like I send them the script, I send them a treatment. They've seen the channel, like they know what they're getting into. And I'll warn them. I told the guy on what's it called on Discharge. I warned him, and he was like, "Okay, I'm ready." He like went to another mental state. It was a whole thing. So.
I've got to admit, one thing we have said is the fact that all the actors you have on these, when they do, especially like we said, Discharge and the guy in Toast and a few of the others, must have to go into their own little mindset with these to be able to sort of segregate the sort of reality to these films, because otherwise there must be something wrong with them if they can't.
Okay, well, you know the trick? I have a trick. So I'll tell the actor, like I'll say, okay, do it as crazy as you can, right? And they'll go crazy, and then I'll say, okay, that was a 5 out of 10. Now we need a 10 out of 10. Give it a 10. And then it's
wow.
You get there.
I must admit, having been in a few things myself, I would love to be in one of your films.
Yeah,
it's a pity that you're in a completely different country because
it's sitting there saying we've watched something. I'm like, I've actually passed these on to a lot of these on to friends of mine that have been to watch them.
Thank you.
And I was saying a lot of them have said the same thing. But one of my friends is actually he's actually only I think he's just moved over to Spain at the moment because he's doing a commercial out there for him. But he's actually saying, when I said it, he went, I'm obviously in the wrong country. He went, I need to go to Canada. Because he just he's like the amount of work that he was saying, like how good this stuff is, and I'm like, oh, I'm sure if you message them, but there are so many people from what I could tell that have said the same. There must be people lining up to be in your films.
I mean, Toronto is honestly just a bustling place. Like there's countless amounts of people trying to make movies and actors and makeup artists and talent. Like and a lot of talent that goes to the US. Like once you get big enough, people just disappear and go to the US, right?
Well, I mean, this is the thing. I mean, there are a number of quite big actors who it's sort of like when you look back, you go, oh, I never knew they were Canadian.
Yeah.
Jimmy Cameron, right?
Yeah.
I've actually done that recently. I was sat there watching a film and I was like, I'll look him up, and I've looked at him like, never knew he was Canadian. And especially the fact is,
We're
a few of
hidden.
them that said they're from Toronto, and I'm like, it's mad.
Yeah, we're hidden like that,
We're all secret talent. It's all in Toronto.
Yeah. Hey, if you guys are ever coming to Toronto, though, you let me know the time frame. Because honestly, this next short we're filming in February, Andy, like it could have been you, Andy, like seriously, or it could have been both of you. I think Andy, for this role would have been better. You'll see why, but I would have got you in there.
Slightly worried.
I don't know if you'd be into it, but I don't know.
Oh God, anything. No, I don't mind. I've laid in a bed, choked on pizza, and eaten my own hand, so I don't mind doing anything really.
Okay. Hey. You're good for
That
this
sounds like
job.
a really bizarre resume.
Is that movie out already? The Pizza Hand one?
It's on. It's I think it's still doing a few festivals, so it's not actually available. But I can send you a link because the director gave me a link to send to people so they can watch the film.
I would like to say he is a bit modest about this. He is almost an award. Oh, it is award winning.
Really? Oh wow! I want to see it.
It won a few awards for some festivals and that. So it's
Sweet. I want to see. Definitely send me a link.
Okay, yeah, I'll send you the link. No problem. It's
Cool.
yeah, it was good fun doing that. It was a bit. It screwed my head up a bit because of the fact that we filmed it over 2 days, and it was all filmed out of sequence. But the problem with that was that I was in a sealed, in like a room. It was like a flat, and they put like a thing on the outside of the window so that they could change the light
I see.
through the window, change the time of day. So I got there early hours of the morning. It was still dark because it was in December. I got there early hours of the morning. It was still dark. We filmed everything out of sequence during the day, and then when I left, it was night again, so it was dark.
You never got sunlight. Yeah, it's
And
great.
I never got sunlight, but what was coming through the window, one moment was like twilight, the next minute was bright morning, and it was kind of like everything. I felt like I'd done about a week in there, and all I'd done was 2 days.
Yeah, you'll never forget it, and you'll never forget it.
It's good fun. It's good.
You were saying your films, some of them are in festivals. Is that something you aim to do with them? Do you put them in a lot of festival things, or is it just ones that get picked for them?
I think it depends. Like with something like Make Me a Sandwich, I think we knew we wanted to do a festival run, and we did put Annie's Lamp was in a few festivals. Sometimes like Discharged, for example, like I'll have people email me and be like, hey, do you want to have your film in our festival for free? And then I'll just say okay, and then they do that. So that's happened after the fact a bunch of times.
Right.
I think it depends. Like festivals, you really got to know what you're going for with the movie, and sometimes it's just better to get it out. And because even for Make Me a Sandwich, which was in a bunch of festivals, and so was 5 Minute Dating, like their success online has like been so much more impactful and important for everything. And festivals was just kind of fun to go to and send an Instagram about, like
yeah.
So it's like once you've done it, it's kind of it's fun, it's cool. But I think every year we do about 10 short films. We try to send one to be the festival one.
It's the problem we've had with the film and at Fiji, because of the fact that it's been doing the festivals for over a year.
Yeah, it can be so long.
It's still not actually out for the public to watch.
Yeah,
because of the fact some of the festivals insist on you not having it.
Yeah, I know. The big festivals, if it's released online, and big festivals won't take it. And that's why for us, like I do post-production. I edit and do color and sound and stuff. So like when we film this one on end of February, it'll be released in the first week or so of March.
Right.
I'm going to make sure it gets done. I'm going to set my time aside. And that's one thing that helps get people on board too. I'll tell them, hey, this is going to come out. Like it's one of the things I'll pitch to the actors and to the crew is this is not going to do festivals. This is going to come out within a week or two later, publicly, forever. And you can look at some of the other videos and see that I'm not going to just screw it up and put out something at a bad frame rate or at the weird black line. Like there's nothing in it. It's going to be quality controlled. So it's actors really need that. They really want to build their reel. They don't want to act this stuff. I know actors who do tons of stuff, tons of auditions, and they never see anything. And the short films never finish in post-production, or they disappear.
Yeah, I mean, I did a certain amount of extra work as well, and the amount of those that you kind of like, you do the extra work, and then you kind of like the films never finish production, so it just gets lost. He's laughing because I was.
What were you in? What were you actually?
If you've seen heard of a film, you probably will hear if you carry on listening to our podcast. We might mention it. There's a zombie horror film called Redcon 1.
Redcon 1?
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's filmed over here partly, but there's a lot of sort of American actors in it and stuff like that. But
okay,
the whole thing was, I was an extra, I was in it, and he's in it for like 10 seconds.
I think I've heard of this. Is it?
This is the thing, like you said, the fact that there was a massive bit that Dad was in, and they cut it, and it's this whole thing about the fact that, like, the sound about the fact that people don't get out and don't get to see their films and what they're in. So it's the fact that you're putting yours out straight away. It's great. It's a really good idea. That's all right. I had to laugh.
I did a full day's filming in a church. I mean, we started about 7 o'clock in the morning, and we finished at about sort of 10, 11 o'clock at night. And you see two bits, one of my head looking at a gun.
Nice.
And one of my arm. And the only reason I knew it was me is because of the fact that I saw my tattoo. So
it's in there. Your arm's in there.
Yeah.
But it's a running joke with us at the moment. Until they talk about it and just laugh.
Whenever I talk about doing extra work, he always says about Redcon 1.
Yeah. I was in film school, and one of the acting teachers, his big thing was he was Tom Hanks's hand pointing at a map. Like, so there's an insert of a finger like going like this across a map line that they needed, and they weren't going to get Tom Hanks in for that. So.
No.
He had great hands. Okay.
It's weird. I used to know somebody. I used to work with somebody who was a hand model. He used to model gloves and rings and things like that for catalogs and stuff like that. And he got a job. He got a job doing a full thing where you could see his entire body, but he was on the front cover of an album by Rainbow, and on this front cover of this album there's 6 doctors, and they're all dressed up in sort of like in the scrubs for being in the operating theatre with masks on, so you can't see, all you can see of him is his eyes. I mean,
still his eyes,
Anyway,
lots of small jobs in the industry, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yes. Well, thank you for coming on the show. It's been great talking to you.
Thanks for having me.
Talking rubbish as well, as we normally do. But yes, no, it's been great. We're very much looking forward to new stuff coming out from you, and long may you continue. And definitely going to keep an eye out for any feature films and things. And we will be reviewing more of your films.
It's quite funny actually. I didn't realise until the other day. I was going through all the notes we've got. I've got like books and folders and stuff like that of all the notes we've done. And I was sitting there making a note, and I was like, I actually sat there and thought about it. Like, I didn't realise actually how many of your films we had reviewed. And he sort of sits there after a while, and I was like, it does almost look like favouritism. But it's the fact that someone pointed it out. Oh no, one of my friends pointed it out to me. He went, you do this quite a lot, and I was like, no, I didn't. And it's only when I looked, I'm like, it's because of the fact that it just shows the quality of the film. The fact that we're sitting there and we keep coming back to it because we're like, they're that good.
The thing about it as well is that when we're looking for the short films, you try and look at ones that have just come out, and when you see one that it's from somebody you kind of go, oh, that's going to be a good one to review, because it's always going to be a good film to it's going to have something interesting for us to talk about. The worst thing we have, and I personally hate saying it, but there are some films that we've reviewed where all you can say about it is it was okay.
Yeah,
I think that's the worst thing you can say about any artistic endeavor, is to say it's okay.
I think fully forgetting about it is probably the worst thing. Like I'd rather make someone be like, "That's so disgusting. I hate you for showing me that I made," than them being like, "Oh, what was that? I forgot what happened." And like,
Yeah.
I went for a walk, like whatever, you know. So I think being memorable is the key in a way, right?
Definitely, yes. Well, your films are definitely memorable, and they're enjoyable to watch, and we love reviewing them. And as I say, we'll definitely be looking out for more.
Definitely.
Andy, Scotty, thanks for having me. It's been great.
It's been wonderful. Thank you very much for joining us.
I'm really excited for you to see this new one. It's called Ice Tray. Okay, so
we'll keep an eye out for it.
Okay.
So everybody out there, watch out for new films from Deformed Lunch Box, and we'll put a link to their YouTube channel as we do normally. And if you've been following us, then you will have watched some already. So keep watching. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
The Sciforror Film Podcast.